Let me introduce you all to the Atoni region, a brand new Pokemon Fakemon region set in Germany, but just like regular Pokemon games, there are a lot of other inspirations for the Pokemon in this region as well. Now, I went to Germany a number of years ago now and absolutely loved checking out the old castles and going to Oktoberfest and just having an overall great time, so I cannot wait to dive into this region. Now, this was created by Soullian, who you can find on Instagram, and we're going to put the info down in the description as always, so you can go and check them out and give them a follow. So let's kick it off and check out the starter Pokemon. The grass starter is called Snallard and combines both a snail and salad together, which I think is a really cool idea. And this just looks like a little baby, very, very cute. It evolves into Snater, and as you can see, it's getting a bit bigger now. That shell on its back is looking quite nice. You can see all the brown around it. Kind of gives me vibes as like it's kind of a ground or a rock type, but it is just a pure grass at the moment. But I feel it changes quite a lot as it evolves into Turbo Max, which is actually a grass and dragon type. It's become bipedal now. It's become a lot bigger. So the shell is no longer on its back. It's almost like a helmet. Maybe it's kind of like some kind of protection. I'm not sure. It also draws inspirations from a snail as well as a whelk. So a whelk is like a carnivorous sea snail now. And Soullian, the artist, has helped me out because they've said what the references are for each Pokemon in every single post. So that helps me out a lot. So thank you, Soullian. Next, the fire starter is called Flatia, and it is based on a baby goat. And it just looks like a round ball at the moment, which is very cute. It evolves into Ignox, so you can see it getting much more adult now. Those horns are much, much bigger now. It's based on a curly ear goat, hence all the curls of flames coming off the ears now, which is really nice. And then its final evolution is Flarelock. Very interesting. It stays as a pure fire type, which you don't see very often for a fire starter, but I kind of like that. So Flarelock, you can see it's got those flames on the tips of its horns, and then we've got that big fire tail as well. And then lastly, our water starter is actually water and normal type called Wizzino, and I absolutely love this design. It's got like a transparent blue watery kind of magic hat there because it's based on magicians, but also the albino rabbit as well, which you can see in those bright red eyes that it has. It's even got like a little cloak around it as well. Very cool. And then it evolves into Bunbino. You can see a lot more adult now, but definitely looks like a middle evolution. Still got that hat, but the ears have become quite long now, and it's got a few of those red orbs, not just on the chest now, but also on the ankles as well. And then its final evolution is Merlin. I absolutely love that name. Obviously, Merlin the Wizard. That is a fantastic name. It's become a water and psychic type now, and has a massive staff that it uses with that big red orb in the middle of it, but I think that looks amazing. Now, for my pick, I'm going to have to pick the water starter. Generally, I'm not a fan of the bipedal humanoid kind of Pokemon, but I think Merlin and this whole water line is fantastic. Let me know down in the comments which starter you're going to pick. Going into Route 1 now, and our Route 1 bug is called Siltini, and it's actually based off a Bombix, which is like that fluffy white moth, and a caterpillar, of course. It evolves into Silconcon, so we can see we've got that cocoon now that we usually have for a Route 1 bug. It's kind of got an interesting expression, which is kind of funny. And I absolutely love its final evolution, which is called Perforella. It is a bug and fairy type now, so you can see it's very fluffy, especially around the waist there. So that's the Bombix inspiration, but it's got massive wings coming off of it, and I think it just looks really, really nice. Next, the Route 1 bird is called Mudspat, so it's based on a sparrow, but you can see it looks quite dirty. It's got like a lot of mud and markings on its body and its feet there. I feel it should be a ground type rather than a flying and normal, or maybe like a flying and ground type. It evolves into Mud Owl, and I love owls in general, so having an owl Pokemon I think is very, very cool. It looks very fluffy because of that dirty exterior that it has. And then lastly, changes into a different bird again, a third bird. This is Mudmatork, so it's based on a stork, and it still has that kind of sandy, dirty look around it. It's now a flying and ground type, so I do like that it changed over there. Next is Flagaric, which is a flying and poison type Pokemon. It's actually based on a poison Flagaric mushrooms, which are actually the mushrooms that I've got on my tattoo there. So the red one with the white spots. So that's really cool. This doesn't really look like a flying type, but I do like the little purple patch that it's got over its eye. It evolves into Agraric, which is now a fighting and poison type. So interesting, it loses its flying type, but then gains fighting type. Bipedal now, you can see it's got almost like little poison wraps around its arms and body and legs now. And the little purple patch kind of looks like a monocle now. Next is Tixter, which is a pure ghost type Pokemon, and it doesn't look like it yet, but it is based on a clock. But you can see it does have a bit of a mischievous smile going on there. It evolves into Toktoxter, so you can see it definitely looks like a pocket watch now. And then evolves into Cuckooster, which is now a ghost and steel type Pokemon based on a cuckoo clock now. You can see the gears and the cogs and everything. Bononiony is a fruit bat Pokemon, but obviously combines an onion in there as well, as you can see by the lines that are across it. That sort of body looks like an onion. It is a flying and dark type Pokemon, and evolves into Dracaric, which I think gives sort of like a vampire kind of vibe, because this is not an onion, it's now a garlic, and obviously like a vampire bat. And we can see it's got little vampire vampire teeth as well. Now, I think for a German region, we have to have a German Shepherd-based Pokemon. So here we have Shapuppy, pure normal type Pokemon, and I think this looks very cute. I like this a lot. It evolves into Sharuff, so now it's become a normal and dark type. Interesting that it has the red and blue in the ears and on the front paws as well, and I'm very curious as to what that may mean. Blosseden is next, which is a fairy and poison type, and this actually combines the apple blossom flower with a milk snake. Both are very, very distinct coloring, so the coloring combines to form Blosseden. And then it evolves into Medusagar, which is obviously based on Medusa. I love that. It's got a very sinister looking smile there, but obviously we've got the Medusa with the, I guess they're going to become snakes when they open up. I'm not quite sure. Hopfling is a grass and ground type Pokemon. It's actually based on hops, and you may know that you need hops to create beer. And of course, Germany is very famous for its beer. This is Beer Enshi, which is a ground and ghost type, and it looks very cute. The froth from the beer has made like a little face or a little head, and it's got little hands as well, so I think this looks really, really cool. Next is Trollunk, which is a grass and fighting type, and it combines like a little troll, but obviously with a tree trunk in its head as well, and even those sort of bushy, dried grass parts around its head. The little tooth that it's got come up is very cute as well. Really cool combination of different themes here. I really like this one. And then it evolves into Orkbork, and it has a big club that it uses now, like a traditional troll would have, and it's got little branches and leaves coming off it. That autumny kind of colored beard that it's got from the bush that it had in its pre-evolution, very, very cool. It's even got a little earring as well. And then we have the Pika clone for the region, which is Lemmyband. It is an electric and ice type Pokemon, and it is based off a lemming, and then it has, it almost looks like a little fur coat around it as well. But like a lot of Pika clones have, they have the big prominent cheeks. Next is Bublini, which is a pure water type Pokemon, and it's based on a platypus. As I said earlier, even though this is based on Germany and platypuses are obviously from Australia, this includes a lot of Pokemon or a lot of inspirations from other regions around the world, like you would see in a normal Pokemon game. It evolves into Platan, which definitely looks a bit more adult now. It's pure water type. It does look like it's got a bit of a fighting stance, but its final evolution is not a fighting type. It is a water and electric type, and that is Electabuzz. So you can see that yellow color. It all looks very fluffy or fuzzy all around its body, and you can see it's got some claws on it as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if it has some fighting moves, even though it's an electric type. Fufalite is next, which is a pure fire type Pokemon, and it is based on a lantern, and it looks like there's a little Pokemon or something stuck inside this lantern, but that's more like a protective bubble and the flames around it as well. And that evolves into Eugindra, which is actually quite a different design. The lantern has kind of evolved now into a gin, and it's always got little devil horns as well and big eyebrows, and definitely looks very mischievous, I think. Next is Idolice, which is an ice and grass type Pokemon, and it's based on the Edelweiss flower, which looks quite similar to this, and then evolves into Idolurse, and as you can see, ice and fairy type, but it definitely looks like a nurse. It's got like the whole hat that a nurse would have with the red cross on it. I would definitely think that this is the Pokemon that is in the Pokemon centers that helps out Nurse Joy. It's based on a nurse. It has to be, right? I absolutely love the name of this next Pokemon, Rock. So it looks like those little pebbles or rocks that people use to stack up together, which is way more talent than I have. And then evolves into Frost Tower, which is based on the Rook from chess, but of course there's lots of old castles and stuff in Germany, so it obviously has that inspiration as well. Going into our first Atonian regional Pokemon now is Atonian Magikarp. It is a pure ghost type, and it has the fish skeleton on the exterior of the entire body. It almost looks like a flame or kind of like a ghostly spiritual element coming out the back of it to make a fin. It's almost got like a bit of a gothic look on its face as well, with the black lips and the white face. But I absolutely love the Atonian Gyarados. I think this looks so cool. The face looks like it's got a skull on it. It looks very, very creepy. On a completely different side of the scale, next we have Cloudine, which is a water and flying type, which looks very, very happy, and it is based on a cloud. You can see the water droplets on it as well. Kind of reminds me of Cast Form a little bit. And that evolves into Nimbot, which is now a water and electric type Pokemon. And I love the look of the storm here. We can see the black clouds all around it, our Nimbus clouds. We've got the electric or the lightning elements on it as well. It's got the water droplet still. Very, very interesting design. I really like it. Next is Lulaloth, which is a ground and psychic type, and combines a few elements here. So we've got a sloth, and it's also combined with the Sandman because it is very, very sleepy. So it's got like that, almost like a sandy kind of beard, and it's got a nightcap on it as well, which is very cute. And then evolves into Salalelu, and as you can see, that sand is completely covered it now. It's almost made like a little bit of a bed that it's lying on, and this Pokemon is conked out. Then Galachick is next, which is a dark and psychic type, and that is based on a peacock chick. So it doesn't look like much yet, just looks kind of fluffy Scraggy. But the final evolution, I think, is amazing. So here we have P Cosmos. The peacock feathers have opened up and has create a galaxy cosmos design. Lots of stars in there and the coloring looks fantastic. Here Crick is a grass and bug type Pokemon, and this one doesn't evolve. This is based on a leaf bug, which looks kind of cute. And then next is Bonchetcho, which is a psychic and steel type. And it's actually an evolution for Chimecho, but we can see this one here is obviously much bigger. It's now based on a Japanese Bonsho as well as the wind chime. And our next Atonian form is Atonian Scraggy, which is now a pure ice type, and it looks very, very cold. You can see it's got like a bit of an ice scarf around it now. And then the Atonian Scrafty is now an ice and flying type, and it's flying because it uses a snowboard. I think I prefer this a lot more than the regular Scrafty. This is really interesting. Scornell is next, which is a pure normal type Pokemon, and this is based on a red squirrel. It is very, very little. We can see that acorn that it's holding is huge compared to the little Pokemon. It evolves into Cudgel, which is now looking a lot bigger now. That tail has become massive, and it's almost got like little wood chips or something throughout the tail. But its final evolution looks awesome. Very, very different to what we had before. Now it's bipedal. Now it's got a sword, and it's standing on the acorn as well. It's now a normal and fighting type Pokemon. I think this is a really cool evolution line. The whole line is really nice. Banana Lou is next, which is a ghost and grass type, and this is actually based on a haunted peeled banana, which I think is a very interesting concept for a design. It evolves into Ghoulpeel, which is now looking like a very happy Pokemon. You can see the ghostly black elements coming out the bottom of the peel there. And then its final evolution is Repealer, so obviously it has the word Reaper in its name, and it's got a massive purple tongue, which is kind of interesting now. Different kind of vibe as the happy one that we had before. Next, I'm going to show you the gimmick for the region, which is called Constellation Form, which works a lot like a Mega Form, and we can see with Turbo Max here, it is in its Constellation Form, so it is much bigger and much stronger. Now, I'm going to show you all of the Constellation Forms for this region, and while I do, I'm also going to point you in the direction of Soullian, which is the artist for the region, so their info is down below, so you can go and check them out. And also, if you're enjoying this video and you want to see more Fakemon regions like it, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube to me as well to check out all of my regions. And I also want to use this time to give a big thank you to all my channel members. And if you want to consider becoming a member, hit that join button just below the video here. It really helps me out, and you get access to all of my videos earlier than anybody else when you become a member. And for every new member I get on this video, I'm also going to give my cat a little cat treat as well. Moving on now, and next is our Atonian Snova, which is actually based specifically on the Black Forest, which is in Germany. And we can see it is a dark and grass type. It does kind of have a bit of a hidden look to it as well, giving it that dark type. Evolves, of course, into our Bomber Snow, and we can see this is still based on our forest, but it's also based on some old traditional German clothing as well. Now we have 4 new evolutions in this region. The first one is Samurion, which is a steel type, and as you can see, it is based on a samurai warrior. I love the tail. It's kind of like that knotted kind of rope as well, which is really nice. But it's got like the mask over its head as well, and some of the armor on its front legs. Next, Romion is a pure ground type, and it's based on a saber-toothed cat, but I absolutely love its tail being like a giant bone, so definitely giving caveman vibes here. Dustrion is the poison type evolution, and it's based on a dust bunny, so it does have that really fuzzy kind of look all over its face and tail there. And then our last one is Wodzinion, which is our rock type, and it's based on gemstones, as you can see scattered throughout the entire Pokemon there. But it's interesting how it has one massive horn, and the other side, I think that horn has been like chopped off or broken in battle. I'm not quite sure. Next is Marsh Willow, which is a fire and fairy type, obviously based on a marshmallow. It kind of has like a will-o-wisp kind of look there as well. The fire on the top of it does look like a candle, but as you'll see, the theme for this Pokemon now, we've got Twin Willow, so now there are 2 marshmallows in it, and then its final evolution, of course, is going to be Tri-Willow, which has 3 evolutions in it now, and that sort of candle flame on the top of it wisps around the entire Pokemon, which I think is a really nice touch. And our next Atonian one is a Kamala, which is a normal and ground type. This looks very caveman-esque in a way as well. Very fuzzy, very hairy kind of look here. And then it has a new evolution in Bromala. It's on 2 legs now, not so sleepy, but still I feel it has that kind of caveman-esque kind of look onto it, kind of like a wild feral kind of look. And then Dolazure is a pure water type, obviously based on a dolphin, but it has a really interesting design on it, and that's because it's based on Rhinish stoneware, so that gives it that blue and white pattern. Evolves into Arsufine, so you see that pattern still continuing along its entire body, but it does look a lot just like a dolphin, so I wish it did have some kind of special element to it in some way. I'm not quite sure. Next, we have a really interesting line. So it starts off with Snowbell, the pure ice type. This actually has a split evolution, which then goes off into another evolution as well. Let me show you. So Snowbell can evolve either into Jinglo, which looks like a happy elf. It is an ice and fairy type. You can see this is going to be a Christmas based line. It's got a little bell on the top as well. But if it doesn't evolve into Jinglo, it evolves into Crampel, which is definitely more of a darker, sinister kind of line. This is Ice and Dark type, and this is based off Krampus. In German folklore, if you're a good child, then St. Nicholas will visit you. If you're a naughty child, then Krampus will visit you and punish you. So that's our split evolution, and then both of these evolve into something else as well. So Jinglo evolves into Holy Santa, which is based on a Christmas tree, but also has like a snowman kind of carrot on the nose as well. Obviously got a star on the head, but looks very happy and merry. Alternatively, Crampel evolves into Crampolta, which is definitely look like a demon or kind of scary in a way. It's kind of got like spiked cuffs around its hands. It's got massive horns like Krampus has as well, and obviously that big dark beard. So this entire line has 5 Pokemon in it, which I think is really interesting. Then we have Deerly, which is a pure ice type Pokemon, obviously based on a deer, and its evolution is Glacialor, which is now based on a deer, but also a maned fox as well. We can definitely see that in the design here with the long limbs that it has. And Darocket is next, which is a fire and electric type, which looks a lot like a rocket ship, but it's also based on the Darumidol as well, like Darumaka, like we already have at the moment. Evolves into Darabot, so it's getting a little bit bigger. Definitely looks very robotic as well. And then its final evolution is Daracoid, so it's really looking like a rocket blasting off there. Lots of fire coming from the arms, but also the base of the Pokemon as well. Next is Soullian, which is based on a UFO, but also has like a brain kind of look as well. That sort of pink, bumpy bits along its head is because it's a brain, because, you know, you might think that aliens are really intelligent. So that kind of combines those two elements together. This is a steel and psychic type. Evolves into Alibrum, so we can see that UFO is getting a bit bigger now. And then its final evolution is Invaluha, so definitely looking like an alien sitting in a UFO now. It's got a massive brain, and also those like green gemstones on its head are kind of interesting as well. And then next we actually have a convergent form. So think of like your Diglett and your Wiglet. So this is Zurul, so it's obviously based on our Marul line. So Zurul is a pure ground type, and it's based on a pink fairy armadillo. And it looks like it's got a really fluffy tail rather than a ball that a Zurul has. Evolves into Marillo, so definitely looking like the armadillo now. It's got some armor along its head, its arms, its back, its tail now. And then its final evolution is Binarillo, so definitely looking armored now. Still has that same shape that an Azumarill will have, but it's got those massive fluffy ears and a big fluffy tail as well, which is really cool. Next, going into the fossils of the region, so you can see the 3 there. The first one is Voltego, which is based on a Stegosaurus. This is a rock and electric type. We can see along the back there, instead of the plates that a Stegosaurus would have, it's got lightning bolts, which is really nice, and that's on the tail as well. And then we have Velopinch, which is based on a Velociraptor, and this is a rock and fighting type. And it looks like it's been injured on the knees and on the tip of the nose as well. The nose is quite big. But unfortunately, guys, that is it. The artist has not quite finished the region yet. But when I was talking to Soullian about the region, they said they've got 30 designs that they finished. All they need to do is upload them. But unfortunately, they haven't uploaded in nearly a year. So you guys need to go and follow them on Instagram and encourage them to do the rest of the uploads, because I really want to see the rest of the fossil evolutions, and I want to see the legendary Pokemon as well. Now, I would love to know your favorites for the region. Make sure you comment them down below. My favorites were Trollung, the Atonian Gyarados, P-Cosmos, and Gardetel. But if you enjoyed this, guys, make sure you subscribe for more Pokemon and Fakemon videos, and check out some of my other regions as well. Thanks.